everyone. Now we are going to look at case studies in Eastern Indonesia to observe the link between traditional social institution and development outcome in Eastern Indonesia. So let me remind you again about what is it traditional social institution that I've been mentioning. So this is a tradition that divide the society or the people in a certain region into several classes. Yeah, and the way that this tradition divide the society has been different, but it's relatively still intact in Eastern Indonesia. It's not so much in other region, like in Java, for example, it's almost not exist, but in Eastern Indonesia, it's particularly intact. And the form are varies. They exist in different form, even different island by island. So in one island, the form is in such, and in the other island, the form is in different shape. But they are exist, and many of them are related to capital ownership. So people are divided into several classes based on their ownership of capital, particularly land. They also divide it into different classes based on their occupation. There could be some, in some island that people are divided based on their occupation, and a certain occupation is considered higher than the other occupation. They also division that is based on religious, so people are divided into several classes based on their religious, and they're also divided the society sometimes by feudalism structure. So, and in many of these islands in Eastern Indonesia, the way of division exists, and sometimes exists with combination with some of the variable that I've been mentioning, and this has been established for a long period of time before the colonialization era. And now we would like to see whether, if we take into account this traditional social institution, then it actually could influence the development outcome. Remember, the main argument that why we would like to use the traditional social institution is that this factor is relatively exogenous, meaning that the development outcome could not affect, could not cause this structure, because this structure has been exist for a long time, and there is no other factor that affected or correlated with development outcome that could be correlated with this traditional social institution, because this traditional social institution has been exist for a long time. So we would like to argue that traditional social institution in Eastern Indonesia has been relatively an exogenous factor. The two case studies that I'm going to use are in this area. So this map showing the area where I took the case study. So there are two islands in which the case study has been built, and as exactly what the island is something that I cannot reveal. So the first case study. So this is an island in which the society has been divided into 4 classes. The highest class is leaders, and just the high class, which is lower, is nobilties, landowners. The low class is worker, consists of worker, and the lowest class are peasants, so people in the rural area, in which in this island is about 90% of the population. So the very high class basically got a special treatment. So because they consider a high class, they have a special treatment. So the hierarchy is the very high class, low class, lowest class. Yeah, and this class system has been still intact up until now. Both the very high and the high class form the elite group because they receive special facilities in the society. So society treat them different, and this is in many of local activity. Yeah? And so we call the very high and the high class as the high group. Yeah? And there has been exists also an identification who are the high class and who are the very high class. Yeah? And the identification is you people can see from their first name. Yeah? Their first name, by mentioning their first name, we know that which class he or she. Yeah? And so we can actually identify in separate in our observation which one is the high class and which one is in the low class. Remember, the high class consists of the very high and the high, and the low class consists of the low and very low class. And it just happened that some of our national household survey reported their first name. So then when we look to our data, which is the national household survey, we know which one from the sample is from the high class and which one in the sample actually the low class people.